And here we go. Okay, I think that should do it. I think we're good. Hey, Surf, how's it going? Hello. Okay, good. So that's why I do an audio check at the beginning of every one of these, just to make sure that it's working. And I appreciate all of you letting me know that it wasn't. Hopefully it is now. Okay, good. All right, looks like we have quite a few people watching today. And okay, it's working now. We're good. I'm go on Twitch, so I should be good on YouTube as well. So we'll go ahead and get going. All right, so I was kind of having some struggles last time. And the good news is I figured out what was causing it. Let me do this one quick thing here before we move forward, just to get a better resolution on the screen here. Yes, and document. Yeah, that's good. Let's do one of these. So I was having some struggles last time, and oddly enough, it's something that I've never encountered before because it's not something that I commonly run into. And that is that if you have... so what I was trying to do is I was trying to do projection painting of this on top of this, and it wasn't working, right? So, let me make sure I'm on the right subtool here. Subtool, I am, okay, good. So let's say I want to projection paint this stuff onto here, and I was having all sorts of trouble. And the reason why I was having trouble is because, and of course, a few minutes after the stream is when I figured it out. Well, Surf, I'll tell you what the most famous project I've worked on is, and I'll actually show you. So here we go. So here is Tom Brady's Twitter, right? So this is Tom Brady's Twitter right here. And you can see this image of him. This is a 3D scan, and I used to work for a company that we worked on this, and so this is probably, you know, from a personality perspective, that's probably the most famous thing I've worked on. Hopefully that answers that question for you. But I've worked on a lot of other things too. This is just the most recent, so it's fresh in my mind. Okay, shifting gears back into what the issue was. So if you have a light here and you have a background and you go ahead and you load a texture into the background, like let's say I load in this texture right here, right? So this is the texture I have as the background. So when I do projection painting now, like if I go to my paintbrush, and let me make sure that project paint is on. We don't want plugins, we want brushes, and I think it's under, I want to say, I have that on my UI spotlight projection right here. So if this is on, right, so then whatever I paint, like if this was underneath this, whatever I paint from this picture should come on there, but it wasn't working. And the reason it wasn't working is because it was projecting the background, right? So that's why it wasn't working. So in order for it to work, you have to turn your background back, you know, to have to turn out your background off like this, and then that will work, okay? So apparently this is a feature of ZBrush, so you can put in a background and then move your model into that background, like if it was a scene or something, and then paint that background in. So now that we know, I can no longer suffer like I did last time with all the issues that I was having. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of the journey, right? I mean, you always kind of, as a user, run into struggles with things and you figure it out, and that's how you learn. So now that is in my mind as a kind of a thing to look out for. Okay, so now let's do the projection painting. It should work. So there it is. And let's choose a bigger brush size here. And let's go ahead and projection paint this face onto the thing underneath. Okay. And you can see that it did. Oh, I have masking on. Not on everything, right? So let me see if this works. Over here, let me just reduce the brush size. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and choose a basic material here for this. Right, so this is kind of painting now. That's good. And what I want to do is projection paint the background onto here. So there's that. Let me align it. Make it a little bit smaller. And I'll be working on the eyes and the face a little bit, sculpting maybe today. I don't know if I'll have time, but I kind of just want to work on this. Kind of the most dominant thing on this page is, or on this character, is this kind of part right here and the bottom part of the face. So here we go. I'm just going to paint this on like that. And yep, it painted it on. So it's in the background. I just think for some reason it's got a darker color over here. All right, so yeah, here we go. And another thing that I've done is I've kind of masked out these areas over here because I want to maybe, you know, push them in a little bit more and also not have the paint affect them. So here I'm just kind of lightening it up. What is my RGB intensity? It's at 100. That's good. And I also made a couple of other brushes. Let me see if they show up here under the... Okay. No, I've kind of done a little bit of the... so, you know, this is kind of a major new version of ZBrush. So one of the things that I did was to go ahead and redo my UI a little bit. So I've done some work on the UI. So if you look at the UI from last week, you'll notice that there are some changes up here, over here, and maybe a little bit over here as well. Okay. All right. So I've got that going. Let's just kind of do a little bit of this, bring this back up. And I should have a camera locked to that location. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to turn redshift off for a minute. I don't need it for now, and just maximize this as much as I can, and also maybe do as much of this as I can. And then get the other guy lined up behind him. All right, so I don't have a light on, so this should just paint this on the background. Okay, you can see it kind of painted it, but it's a little bit off. I don't know why it's so dark. I don't know if it's because of the material I'm using or what. But let's go ahead and turn poly paint off. Let me see what the material is underneath. Right, there we go, there we go. Okay, so it seems like it's got a darker material underneath. And it seems like it's going based on this. Or what's going on here? Basic material. Oh, I know why. Interestingly enough, so since I was using an HDR light, the light is off here. So let's just bump up this intensity to 0.85, and that should fix that. There we go. And there's one light. I'll just add another light too. Let's add a fill light on the right as well. Move that over. So we'll have a more lit object. Okay, there we go. And then let's turn poly paint back on. It should just be perfectly, yep, here we go. Yep. And so here, kind of overdid what I wanted to do. So I'm going to back up just a little bit here. On the paint job, maybe all the way back to here. Here we go. All right, so just take it all the way to the back. All right, so here we go. And now I just want to bring out some of the details. So I'm just going to do this one more time. Thank you for being patient with me on this. But we will get it, I promise. So here I'm just going to bring this part over here this way, and I'm going to make it a little bit less opaque, and let's bring this up, pop it over. I can see some questions coming in, so just give me a minute here. I will answer them for you as soon as I can. I mean, it's not a perfect alignment, but I'm just going to see if I can get some of these cool details that the image had on here. All right. By the way, interestingly enough, I'm looking at the questions and I still see that famous thing. I don't do this for fame. I don't do this to work on famous things. I just do it because I enjoy to do it. Sometimes I get lucky and I work on famous things, and sometimes I don't. So, but I don't care if what I'm working on is famous or not. What I care about is doing the work. And what I also care about is doing these streams, which I enjoy immensely. Because it's not working on somebody else's project, but working on mine, and I can kind of be free to explore and do some of the things I like to do. All right, let's see what that did. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go to flat color here just so I can see, and I'm just going to fill the material just to get that kind of. Here we go. So this is looking a little bit more like what we have over here, which is what I want. I'm also going to turn symmetry off here. Oh, did I? All right, let me just do one thing here. I just want to go back all the way to back here. Come on. I don't want to lose that mask. All right, there we are. And let me just make sure. Yep. Okay, good. And I want to turn symmetry off. Oh, this is weird. Okay, I just need to load in my hotkeys. For some reason, they got turned off. So just pardon me for a minute. Oh man, it's been a slow going today, but we'll get there. All right, now it's still not loading the hotkeys. That's weird. All right, well, I'm just going to do it through just to kind of get moving. I'm just going to turn symmetry off here. And then I will, all right, so here we go. So here I'm just kind of painting this pattern on. And you can kind of see it happening on the object. And I might need to go and clean it up in just a minute, but let's just kind of lay down a coat of paint on here. And yeah, so no, it's actually not too bad. RGB intensity is there. Paint is going good. Okay. All right, so that's good. And now let's just switch back to a different material. Let's go to basic material, and then we can see kind of our paint showing up here in the background. Okay, so I want to find out, okay, this works, but this one does not. I don't know why my masking menu isn't working. And that's going to kind of cause me some issues. So let me do this. I'm going to, actually I can just start over. It's okay. I'm just going to restart ZBrush just to make sure we don't have that issue. Because my custom menus are important and I use them all the time. So sorry about that. All right, good time to get a swig of tea. And wait for ZBrush to load. There it is. And of course it came up on this other screen, so we'll bring it over. Here we go. And I just want to make sure, oh, here we go. So this menu is back. We are good. And let's open our project. I don't want save these changes. Yeah, that was strange. I mean, I did do some configuration changes, so that could have caused it, but it's not a big deal. It's going to work fine. And I want to current projects. And I'll go ahead and load this in. It's going to take a few minutes to load, but I have something to talk to you guys about while that is going on. And that is, make sure you go to my website to check out my latest work. I'm going to update it with some new stuff. And also make sure you go to my Instagram. Here's my latest post. This is a face that I made, sculpted. So here's kind of the sculpture of it, and kind of morphed together. And then rendered this in Keyshot. I'm sorry, in Redshift, not Keyshot. And so I actually have moved on further from this render. It's looking a lot more realistic now. But yeah, so definitely check out my work. I always post my new work on Instagram first, and then I post them on other services later on my website and whatnot. Okay, so let's do this bit of business and get that image. And I should also mention that if you are newly joining the stream and you haven't seen it before, this is episode 6, I believe, of a running series. And what we are doing is that I made this image, photo bashed this image from a bunch of AI images I generated using Midjourney, and now I'm actually making this thing in ZBrush. So that's what we've been doing this whole time. So notice here that I've got, and I put this on my UI now, so the light, the HDR that does the lighting, I've actually placed over here, just to make it easy for me to get it. So it's right on my UI, so I don't have to go to the light menu and go to background and pick it from here. So I just put it right there. That's one of the big changes I made to my UI. So if there are some of you that are making your UI based on mine, just note that that is something I did. And I also have the on-off button for the light, right? So I can turn it on and off. And we don't want range in the background. We just want a single color. So there's that. And okay, so we're back to working here. I'm going to turn this off again so the projection doesn't interfere. And I also want to make sure that I turn on the light intensity to 0.85 and also create a fill light over here. And let's just choose basic material for now, and then we will choose different materials later. All right, and I'm just going to fill this object with this material as well, so we can do the painting. All right, so we're back to where we were before. I just want to make sure my Control A menu works, and it does. And let's make this a little bit bigger, and we're going to projection paint parts of it onto my model. So I'm just going to use parts of it just willy-nilly here. And I want to make sure symmetry is off. And I want to make sure I'm on my paintbrush. And here we go. All right, so now I'm just, spotlight projection would help. And just do this bit of painting over here. So right now I just painted that. Now let's switch back and move this over to maybe here like this. And paint this part in. And I've masked it so the painting should happen pretty fast. And then move this over to maybe this part right here, like that. And then paint that in. Okay, so I've just been painting all of these different things into here. So this is making it a little bit more organic. And let me just pick this color. Do some freehand painting. Here, so I'm just kind of adding a little bit of the noise and detail from the image that I had. Oh, I forgot to do my document thing. Let me do that too. All these things I got to do to get going. Right, and I have Control N. All right, much better. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of freehand painting here just to kind of augment what's there. Maybe pick some of these colors over here. Now, one of the things I did is I also created a paintbrush, which I don't know if it's here or not. Let's see, AK paint. It's not here, but it is in my UI. I guess I can just load it. Actually, I can just load it from here. Brush. Brushes and Kermaco, and there it is. All right. So it's just kind of, you know, it's just a very kind of blunt force brush, and I might add an alpha to it, but it doesn't really, you know, it doesn't have a lot of the kind of tablet pressure stuff on it. So let me just choose this color right here. So this piece right here, I'm just going to make it the way it is. Same here, just going to get rid of that one line. And then these other pieces are okay. Another thing I also started doing, and I might do a little bit more, is just peeled off some pieces. So you can see here that I've got these teeth that are additional pieces, and then this nose piece is an additional piece, and I will color them a different color. But yeah. Right, and then just do a little bit of painting over here. I mean, ZBrush is just so much used as a sculpting program. We forget that it's a really powerful painting program as well for doing 3D painting. And I love it for that. Okay, and then let's just do a little bit of projection painting as well. So I just want to dim this a bit and bring this over, and I want to paint this kind of face area over here with some of this pattern, and for that I'm just going to turn symmetry back on. Just do a little bit of painting there. You can see that's what I did, and it projected on the other side. I wanted that to be symmetric. Some things I want to be symmetrical, some things I don't. So that's cool. And then this face part over here, I kind of want to do a little bit of sculpting on here, so let me do that right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn poly paint off. And just maybe use the flatten H polish. Right, there's a question. He's a 3ds Max. Christopher's a 3ds Max guy. Should I switch to Maya? Why do industry prefer Maya to 3ds Max? So good question. I don't, you know, like this is a personal preference whether or not you want to switch to Maya or not. I used to use 3ds Max in the past, and I liked it a lot. It was, you know, to me it seemed, very logical. I used to work at Microsoft, so the menus and everything were very Windows-like, and I liked that about it. But then over time I switched to XSI just because the industry kind of was moving that way, and XSI had some really cool and powerful tools. So, and then I went to Nomen, and there I studied Maya, and it just seems to me that like a lot of the movie industry and the freelance industry and a lot of people use Maya. So, you know, chances are if I work somewhere, they're going to be using Maya. Now, that said, a lot of game studios use 3ds Max. So game studios use 3ds Max. Blur Studios uses Max. They've been a Max user for a long time. So it just depends. And honestly, nowadays with FBX file format and also with all the freelance works and everything that's being done, it doesn't really matter what application you're using as long as you can get them the assets. So I know a lot of really great artists that use Blender and just generate OBJ files and give those to the client. So it's up to you. If you've developed a good working discipline in 3ds Max, you can just stay there, right? And if you feel like you're not getting work because a lot of the places you want to work at are using Maya, then maybe learn Maya. But the good news is once you know one of these programs really well, it's not that hard to switch to the next one. So hopefully, Christopher, that answers your question. The industry prefers Maya to Blender because that was kind of an interesting thing too. Like I actually watched that happen in my experience, and what happened was that a lot of the industry was using XSI. So Jurassic Park came out, that was done with Softimage, not XSI at the time. But then when XSI was coming out, it was delayed, and then the people from Alias Wavefront really kind of burned the midnight oil and came out with Maya a lot faster. And also, Spider-Man used Maya, and so slowly but surely, a lot of companies started adopting Maya, and then Maya had the MEL development language, so they could kind of load it into their pipelines, their production pipelines and whatnot. So Maya just took off. There were a lot of really great artists using it. Of course, artist support is really important. If companies don't realize that, they're missing the point here. So that's kind of why Maya took over. But but interestingly enough, and this is kind of a very kind of little known statistic, is that there are more Max users than there are Maya users, right? So kind of weird logic there, but that's true. That's how it is. Because a lot of architectural people use Max for architectural visualization. So there are a lot of Max users out there too, quite a bit actually. So yeah, it's kind of there's there's a lot of applications out there to use. What am I doing here? So my recommendation is to see if the studios are okay with you using Max. And if they're not, then you might want to pick up Maya. And there are tutorials out there, Max for Maya users and things like that. Or, I'm sorry, the other way around, Maya for Max users. You're welcome, Christopher. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have been in this industry for a while, so kind of know all the different ins and outs of what happened and when. And since Maya is owned by Autodesk, they basically, look at revenue from a corporate perspective. So that's why they basically looked at revenue from XSI and noticed that the least amount of people use that. So that's the first one they killed off. And so everybody's always kind of thinking about what are they going to kill off next. Is it going to be Maya or is it going to be Max? And if it came down to it, I think they would probably kill off. I mean, there'll be a lot of industry pressure not to kill off Maya, but there also will be a lot of industry pressure not to kill off Max. So I don't envy the person that has to make that decision if it ever needs to be made. But the good news is they're both great programs. They both have been advancing in different ways. Maya, I haven't really upgraded since 2019 because I didn't need to subscribe, because they didn't really add anything in the subscription in the newer versions that I really need. So when they do, I'll subscribe. When and if they do. I mean, ZBrush, I definitely got the new version just because it's something I use all the time. And I personally, for what I need for my work, I got the perpetual version, but the better fiscal decision was to get the subscription version, just because it's cheaper and they have a special going on. But I, unfortunately did not. I need the perpetual version for now. And I'm really happy with the upgrade. I think they did some amazing stuff. All right, so just a little bit of kind of cleanup sculpting here, just to get this to be a little bit more kind of succinct. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to just nudge this out a little bit. I wonder if inflate will work. I'm going to try it. Sometimes it just does too much, but let's go ahead and try that. So inflate by 1. Nope. It did do it, but it just kind of went all over itself, and I kind of want these clean lines. So I'm going to try and see if I can get it to come out, and I just have to pick a good angle for it. So let's see, I'm going to go for this. Oops. What was that? Right, that's a good angle, and then just push it out just a little bit, just to get a little bit more of those defined lines in there. Here we go. That's exactly what I wanted. And another thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a polygroup from what's masked, so I can just go ahead and select it later on. So I'm going to go polygroups here, polygroup, group masked. Let's do that. It's going to take a few minutes. All right. Minutov, you're asking if, in addition to ZBrush, is it necessary to learn other 3D packages? Well, I think, here's kind of my thought on that. I think you should know one program really well, whatever that is. Like pick one and just go deep on it. So either ZBrush or Maya or whatever. And once you master that, once you feel really comfortable that you're really good at that one piece of software, then you can diversify and go to other 3D programs. So, I mean, for me, the major two are ZBrush and Maya. For a lot of other artists, it's maybe Maya and not Blender, but Houdini. So it just depends. But I think you should just start with one. Yeah, I think, my number one software, like if I were on a deserted island and can only have one piece of software, it would definitely be ZBrush, for sure, 100%. It's just a personal preference. I know I can do a lot more in ZBrush than I can do in anything else. Right. All right, what's been going on? Let's see. Turn AccuCurve on and let's sharpen this a little bit more. Just want to sharpen these corners. All right. Okay, so that's good. And then let's turn PolyPaint back on this guy. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I think maybe do a little bit of painting up here. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of projection painting up here. It looks like I've got some paint on this side, but not on this side. So I'm going to turn symmetry off. And I'm going to bring this back up. And let's see. So I want to paint this part. And I'm just going to choose. What I'm doing right now is I'm just using this for kind of a paint pattern. So I'm going to be painting over here. And this is good. Let's go to the paintbrush. I think it should be here now. And it is. Did it choose the paintbrush? It did not. Okay, now it did. All right, here we go. Here we go. I kind of don't want that line up top, so I'm just going to move the model down a bit. It's so funny. It's like you either move the model or you move the you can move the model and you can move the stencil or the image. Okay, so that's good. This is looking a lot better. I'm going to do something similar on this side, so let's bring that up. And I'm going to move the stencil to about there, like that. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Actually, let's choose this. And of course, I can rotate the stencil as well, like that. So I'm just going for this part right here. And let's just paint that in. Right, that's good. It's kind of asymmetrical, just like I want it. And then let's do the top here, which doesn't really have anything going on. And let's move this over to, I'm going to make this really big so I get a lot of surface, and I want maybe something like that. This part in, and I don't know if you guys can see what's going on in the background. I think I got some areas I don't want, but I'll clean it up in just a minute. But let's just see what that gave us. All right, that's okay. And it's so funny, I wanted to do all this last time, but I wasn't able to because of the background issue that we were having. All right. A little bit of cleanup here. This is that part I didn't want. Okay, I think I'm just going to overlay this a little bit more with some paint here. Let's find a good spot. Maybe let's use some of this. And one of the things you can also do is, reduce the RGB intensity just so you don't get such a harsh pattern. But I think I'm liking what I'm getting here, so it's good enough. Okay, yep. So that's good, like that. And just to kind of break off this little dirt piece, I'm just going to paint this off like that. Maybe a little bit too much. So here's a perfect example. Let's say I do want that, but I don't want this paint to be so strong. So I'm just going to take this back a couple of steps. I'm just clicking on the timeline. Okay, Leo Goldener 3D, you're Brazil. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Obrigado, I guess I should say. Do I like to work with Z-Sphere or start with primitive shapes? Depends on the project, Christopher. Sometimes one, sometimes the other. So like if it's something that, you know, z-spheres adhere themselves to certain things. So sometimes I use z-spheres, and sometimes I use other things. It depends on what I'm trying to make. Like if I'm going to make a creature, I'll start with z-spheres for sure. But if I'm going to make something like hard surface, then I start with primitives. See, now that I lowered my RGB intensity, I can kind of get some subtle kind of paint jabs over here. This is good, and maybe this doesn't need to. There we go. All right, so this is coming together. I think I'm liking the poly paint. I'm liking the lighter color over here and the darker color over here. The problem is I've got these like lines here that I didn't really sculpt in, so I'm just gonna jab those out. Do it on the other side. I forget I don't have symmetry on, but that's good. At this point I don't need it. And let's move this over to here like that. Let's see, I want the darker color, so let's just go over to there. And hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing and understand what I'm doing. So I'm just basically, oops. Painting this on, and then let's go ahead and do it on the other side as well. Like maybe like so. Projection painting with Spotlight is really powerful. I just hate the fact that I was having all those issues last time, but we're good today for sure. All right, just lighten this up a bit, and I think this is good. All right, so I'm happy with that top part. Let's work a little bit on the bottom part. So Christopher, I hope that answered your question about primitives. So now I'm going to move down to this jaw piece, which still looks pretty rough. So let's just do a little bit of sculpting on it. Let me turn off the poly paint just to kind of see what's going on underneath. Looks like I've got some good stuff that I sculpted in before. I just need to tighten it up a bit. Why do I do painting instead of texturing? I'm doing both. I mean, texturing is part of it. But painting adds a little bit more of those kind of cool details, right? But the texturing, I'll just pick a material and I'll do that in just a little bit. Hopefully we'll get to that today. This project is almost done as far as, you know, a lot of what I'm doing today is just kind of fit and finish. I think by maybe 2 more times this will be over. Okay, I just want to see what polygroups I have on this. Oh, I've got quite a few. All right, good. So what I want to do is I want to first of all mask this back polygroup. This one, just mask it all. And I want to mask these back parts too. All right, good, good, good. And I also want to mask this kind of side part. Nope, not you. Oh, is this? It says dynamic subdiv on. All right, that's why this is happening. I'm like, what is going on? All right, no worries. I'll just do it this way, and then we'll create the depth afterwards. That's so funny. I don't need to mask the back because it is dynamic subdiv using thickness, which is another really cool capability. Is to take a thin piece like this and give it thickness just by clicking one button. All right, and I'm going to use some of these features that kind of presented themselves. I think they look cool. I mean, I don't really have to stick 100% to what the AI images. I can take a little bit of creative leave if I want to. Sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm sure if a studio needs me to do that, I can. But here, it's my own thing, so I can do whatever I want. And that's what's kind of fun about these streams, is that I don't have a art director or a boss telling me what to do, which is not a bad thing. I mean, you know, if you have a good art director who knows what they're doing, it's always fun to collaborate. But it's also fun to just do whatever you want to. Okay. What is Polypaint used for? Well, Polypaint is just basically painting the polygons, right? So if you look at this object here, it's composed of all these polygons like that, right? So this is at subdivision level 6. So if I go all the way down, it's all these polygons. And when you're doing polypainting, you're painting inside of these polygons. So, and if you have, you know, I mean, here, this isn't going to make a lot of sense, but if this is subdivided, then it will, the polypaint will look a lot more convincing. Now, one of the things about this is I can see that my subdivision levels here are not, so here I've got big polygons, and I've also got thin stripes here. It would be nice to add another edge loop over here. So I'm going to try and do something which doesn't always work. And before doing that, I'm going to do a quick save just to drop a save on this. And then we'll try and do that other thing I was talking about just to see if it will work. How to learn ZBrush quickly? Well, you know, ZBrush is a big program, so, you know, I mean, there are basics you can learn very quickly, and then you know, just kind of learning all of it takes a long time. But if you want to just kind of be up and running and be working real quick, one of the things is, I don't know if you've seen in the chat, but there is a link to Cineversity, which is some classes to learn ZBrush, and you can do that. Another thing also, I'll give it a plug, since I learned from this person. So if you go to Gnomon Workshop, this is a training website, and I do have a couple of titles on here. I've got a Mech design title, and I also have a 3D scanning title. But in this same website, there's a really good ZBrush tutorial by Maddie Spencer. And if you just go to by instructor and Spencer, where are you? There we go. This one right here is a really good way to start. So this tutorial, Introduction to ZBrush 2021, and don't worry about it. Is this the latest one? No, there's a 2022 version. Here we go. This one has a, you know, like it has an intro, and I think you can probably watch that for free. The quick start guide, that's a good way to get going. So Minutov, that's probably what I would do if you just want to kind of get going. But again, it's something that's going to take a long time. So don't expect to be doing what I'm doing in like 2-3 weeks. All right. How do you calculate the lengths with Transpose for perfect lengths? It's hard for me to understand measuring system. Okay. All right. Christopher, good question. Okay. So let me see if I can remember this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set your scene scale, right? So here, if I, let me unsolo this. This is a good kind of thing to go into. Let's say I want to figure out the scale of this thing. So there's a plugin that comes with ZBrush called Scale Master. And it is, where are you? Scale Master, right here. Okay, so you click on Set Scene Scale, and then it gives you a number, right? So you pick whatever number is closest. So right now, I want this whole thing to be maybe about 35 centimeters. Let's say I'm going to go with the metric system because it's good. And so right now, this says 23. That's close to 36, right? So I'm going to choose that. Okay, so now I just chose that as my units. And then what I'm going to do here is I don't want this to be 23 and the y is up and down, right? I want it to be 36. So I'm going to put in 36, and it adjusts all the other ones accordingly because I've got this lock aspects ratio are on. Okay, so now that I've set this, I'm just going to resize my subtool. So I'm just going to say resize subtool, and I want to do all of them, not just the one I'm on. So I'm just on this bottom subtool, but I want to do all of them. So I have all on, resize subtool, and just takes a minute and resizes everything to be 36. So now I know that this model, oh man, I made a big mistake. I forgot that I have a body. So that's fine, I can fix it. I'm just going to let this go through the course, and then we will we'll adjust it completely. I forgot that I have a body for this thing, even though I'm not going to use it, not for this stream. I might use it for a future project if somebody wants me to do it. There's the guy's face underneath. Yeah, I've got a body and a cloak and a whole bunch of stuff that I kind of did when I was bored one evening. All right, so now when this stops, it's almost done. All right, so when this stops, let me bring up the body too so you guys can see. And I'll show you one thing you can do so you don't run into this problem. So right now, this is his body, right? But and this whole thing now is 36, so which is not what I want it to be. I want it to be something like maybe 10 feet tall, this guy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and set scene scale again. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new bounding box subtool. And if I do that, what that will do is it will just create a big box that is the entire size of the object. And if I turn transparency on, you can see that it just created a box that goes around the object. And that's the thing that is going to be what your scale is set to. So I'm going to go to set scene scale, and now I'm just going to go to feet, and I'm going to say this thing's going to be 10 feet, and right now it's 14 feet, which, I mean, maybe it is 14 feet. Maybe this guy's really, really tall. Now let's just do 10 feet. Okay, here we go. So now I'm going to click on that. Now that's at 10. I'm going to set this to 10 feet. Now this is 10 feet, right? And I'm just going to say resize subtool all again. And it's just going to go ahead and resize all the subtools so that this scene is now 10 feet. So if I export this out to like Max or Maya or Blender or whatever, then what it will do is it will definitely bring it in at that scale. But right now it's just scaling out all the different subtools. Adam is asking if I incorporate any other modeling software in my personal workflow for hard surface or ZModeler. I can do maybe about 95% in ZModeler easily. And then for that extra 5%, sometimes I go out to other programs. Now that said, I should also mention that there are some things that ZBrush can't do that, let's say, Blender or Maya can do. Like Blender has what's that thing called? This really beautiful hard surface tool called, it creates really janky topology, but creates some really great shapes called, what was it called? Hard something, or what was it? My mind just is completely drawing a blank right now. But anyway, there's that tool that I use for Blender. I've got some plugins for Maya that I use. So yeah, I would say, about 90 to 95% I can get along in ZModeler, and then the rest I have to go out to some other tool. And I try to do as much of it on ZBrush because I don't want to really go out of it if I can help it. Adam, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very, very appreciate it. To politics Umamoto. Okay, so here we go. This is done. Let me just do this real quick since we're on this track. Okay, so now that I've got this object, I know that from top to bottom, this object is going to be 10 feet, right? So it says 10 feet right here. I'm good. Now the last thing I want to also do is I want to make ZBrush scale unify this thing so it kind of fits within ZBrush's scale. But I'm not going to do it just yet. Actually, let's see what the scale is. So when you go down to geometry here and size, right now this thing is 0.8 and it's about 2.4 in Y. So I think we're good. I don't need to see that bounding box. Oh, actually, let me just leave it on. So now if I want to measure, I'll have to use the transpose line, okay? And so if I go to W, I get the gizmo. But if you want to turn the gizmo off, you can press Y or click on this button, and now you have the transpose line. And if you click somewhere and you draw, this actually, right now, this line here is basically 10 feet tall. And you can tell there's a place on here where you can tell that this is 10 feet tall, and I forget where that is. God, I haven't done this for a long time. But yeah, if you just click from one place to another, the transpose line length will give you that distance. And there is a place where it shows you, here it is, up here. Okay, so now notice that from here to here, if I move off, right now it's saying it's 1,081 feet. That doesn't make sense. Let's see how much it says. Oops. So let's take the transpose line and do it, move it out of the way first. And let's draw it from here to here. Okay, and so this is this doesn't make sense. It should give me the right information. I think there's a place in here under transpose where you transpose units. There we go. So unit scale is 1. I'm going to set scene units. So right now this scale is kind of wonky, but if I want to set it to what this is, right, I'll just have to, so if this is, this box is 10, what I want to do is I want to subdivide it so it's got 10 units. So I'm just going to go to divide, turn smooth off, 1, 2, let's see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's going to divide it unevenly, so what I need to do here real quick is go to ZModeler, and delete these edge loops so I can divide it by 5 and get 10 divisions. Okay, so now each one of these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's going by 4. Let me go down or delete lower and higher. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm getting 8, but I want to get 10. Well, if this was 8 feet tall, it would be easy. Let me, I'm kind of trying to figure out the math while I'm live here. Oh, I know how to do this. I'm just going to delete these. And I don't care about this way. I just care from up and down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to ZModeler, multiple edge loops, and I'm going to add 10 edge loops like that. 10, click, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know why it's doing 11. Maybe, oh, 9 will give me 10. That's right. 9 lines, 10 divisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to measure one of these. So I'm going to go back to the transpose line, right? And I'm just going to click here and click here. Now I know that this distance is 1, even though here it's saying 304. So I'm going to go to Preferences and say Set Scene Units. Feet, okay, good. And enter units, 1, enter, okay? So now if I do a measurement like this, it should, what is going on? 1 unit scale. Yeah, so that should be 1. I mean, if this whole thing is 10, right? This should be 1. Okay, so right now I go to Preferences. Let me do this one more time here. Okay, minor takes, that's good. Major takes 1. Calibration this. Oh, here we go. That's what I need to do, is put this down as 1. Okay, set units 1. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now this here, it will show me up here it's 1 foot. Oh, one more thing I need to do here. Set units. That's what I need to do here, is mention what it is. So feet. Okay, so now that's 1, right? So if I measure from here to here, now that should be 2, and it is. So you can see up here. Look up here, as Paul said, I can't do the voice, but it says 2 feet. And if I measure the whole thing, right, it will say it's 10 feet. So now basically my transpose line is my measuring meter. So I'm just going to go here and hide this tool, and then just go back to, let's say, the body. And let's say I want to measure the body. Let's say I want to measure like how long his forearm is. So if I go from here to here and let go, now I know that that's 1.9404 feet, right? So I know exactly how much that is. So I can measure everything precisely from one point to the other. Okay, well, good. I remembered how to do it. Yes. All right. Does sense of scale really matter? Absolutely does, Shiro. It does, especially now that you're using Redshift to render. Scale really matters, because that's how it will calculate. That's how it will calculate that's how it will accurately render the materials, right? And lighting and everything like that. So yes, definitely pick something in your scene and use Scale Master Set Scene Scale to set it to the right scale. Okay. So complete tangent there, but hopefully this helps you guys with some of the questions. Vanek, hello. Welcome, welcome. Tactical helmet. Tactical helmet shouldn't be that hard to do. So here's kind of what I recommend you do. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can do it the cheap way or the expensive way. The cheap way is you can just go to, let's say, Sketchfab or something like that. Sketchfab or TurboSquid or one of those places, and just go here and look for tactical. All right, there we go. So there's a few on here. There's a low poly one, which you can start with. And this gives you the proportions, and it's just $4. Looks like there's some really amazing ones on there. But yeah, so you can just, you can buy this one for $8. You can buy this one, and this gives you kind of almost the proportions of what you want. Another place where I've seen this, a good tactical helmet, is on 3D Scan Store. I didn't want to do that there. Here, let's just do this. If you go to 3D Scan Store, and I think under their military stuff, where are you? Body scans, military scans. And these are actual scans, and they do have a tactical helmet, and it's 10 British pounds. And this thing is pretty good. I have it. I bought it a while back. So this will give you the exact tactical helmet. Like, this is the real thing. It's just 3D scanned. And then you can just either just use this as is, or you can model on top of it. So that's kind of 2 ways you can go about doing a tactical helmet real quick. Hopefully that helps you, Moto. Okay. Can you move the ZBrush logo? Oh, shoot. Did that not show up? When I did the transpose line, did that not show up? Oh, man. I mean, not to worry. It's not a big deal. But is that... Oh, yeah, it didn't show up. I'm so sorry. Here, I'll just move the entire window down a bit. So here we go. Yeah, I forget that there's that banner and the ZBrush logo, ZBrush Live logo. Okay, so yeah, the thing comes up over here, right, in this area. So here, if I measure, let's say I want to measure from one eye to the other. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and let me choose the eyes here. Let's say I want to, let me turn off symmetry. And suppose I just want to measure the distance between the eyes. So I can click on one eye over here and drag and drop and drag the transpose line to the other eye. And over there it says 0.3629 feet over here. And let me use the magnifying glass so you can see it. And I forget what the key is for that, but I know here it is, magnify glass. Like it's right here, right? So this is where it's going to come up. Right now it says track for some reason, but yeah. But anyway, so this is exactly under where, you know, when it says edit, draw, or whatever, and right here where there's like that line that things happen, and it, you know, here we go. As soon as I move on to it, it goes away. Let me try this one more time. There we go. I'm just going to go around this thing. There we go. There, you see it? There is where the measurement shows up right there. All right, so my cat decided to come visit. Let's get rid of this magnifying glass. Shift M, that's the key for it. Cat jumped down. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's I forget that there's this banner up top and over here. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. And now that we've kind of completely gone off the reservation with all the goings on, let's go back to where we were, which we were going to. How are we doing on time, by the way? Let's see. Oh my gosh. All right, we got time. I might go a little bit over today if I need to. Okay. Okay, is this version a free upgrade or a subscription only? Okay, so QuakeBox, there is an FAQ that tells you all about this, about version 2023. Nothing I'm doing today is specific to, by the way, I should mention that nothing I'm doing today is specific to 2023. Maybe if I do a render, it'll be 2023. And I also did use the, what's it called? The slime bridge to do kind of the inside part of his face, these lines. Yeah, there's an FAQ, and I should have that link handy that tells you how to upgrade. So you can upgrade to subscription, or you can upgrade to perpetual. Both options are available. Can you store the custom units for next time you open up ZBrush? You can. What I would do is I would build a cube, right? Build a cube with the units that you want. Set the scene scale, and then when you start ZBrush, you know, load that cube in and start from there, and then you'll know that the scale is set. That's how I do it. All right, so let's see. All right, so here, notice I can't insert edge loops because I've got multiple subdivision levels. So I'm going to do something really risky here, but before doing that, I'm going to duplicate my object just so I don't mess it up. And then there it is, and I'm going to freeze the subdivision levels. This sometimes works, so let's see if it does now. All right, so oh man, yeah, I don't want that many subdivision levels, and I also don't want to see the thing that I just duplicated. There we go. Pardon me, solo this out. I just want to insert a single edge loop, like there. So that's dividing up this big long polygon. One more here, one more. Oops, don't want to do QMesh. Let me turn that off. For polygon actions, I'm going to say do nothing. While I'm at it, I'm going to say do nothing for point actions too. And here I'm just basically creating more topology so that when I do subdivide, these areas over here aren't like completely stretched out. So this is kind of like manual subdivision. All right, there we go. And then maybe put one over here. That's going to create some funky stuff this way, so maybe not. Do that. I can probably use the stitch function, but this isn't actually that bad. See what this does. Yeah, maybe I can do this. This is okay. Oh, don't want to do that. Want to do this though, and I want to do one here. So I'm just basically creating, I want these polygons to be more square shaped as much as I can get them to be. I still have a little bit of funk going on over here, so I'm just going to have to do this bit this way, like that. Take the hit of getting this area to be the way it is. Yeah, well, in the grander scheme of things, that's not a big deal. All right, so now for the kind of, you know, and I want a quick save before I do this. For the, you know, part, I'm going to unfreeze the subdivision levels and see what I get. Okay, quick box. You can always watch this after the fact. It's going to be recorded, so you can watch the rest another time. But thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. All right, let's look at the filter here. Good, good, good. Man, quite a few of you watching today. All right, so we got about 45 minutes to an hour more to go, so it's perfect. Okay, so now I've got that going on. What I want to do is, I wonder if I should do that too. Let me do this. I'm going to do an extrude and edge loop. Let's see if this works. Edge loop, edge poly loop. Let's see. Nope. Come on. Let's just try edge loop. No, it's not going to go all the way around. How about, let's try this. It's going to do everybody, which is not what we want. And I also want to go perpendicular if I can. Planar angle. All right. I just want to create these loops around the outside parts. On these inside pieces, but not on the outside piece. So I'll do that, and then I'm just going to do a delete edge loop, delete poly loop, and get rid of the outside one, and that gets me what I want. Okay, so now I've got exactly what I want. I am going to kind of, I think I did the quick save already. I'm pretty sure I did. So I'm just going to go back to geometry and do this. And hopefully it will do it, and it did, yes. Did some real funky stuff over here. But let's see if I can fix that all. Okay. Yeah, it did some really kind of funky stuff on the edges, but it's not that bad. Yeah, no, it is bad. All right, so I'm just going to go back and not do that edge looping part, and then do another freeze, see if this is better. A little bit better. Still kind of getting some weird funk around the edges here. I mean, yeah, this is going to cause issues when I do the thickness part, so I might need to, yeah, I don't know why it just does these really kind of funky edges, but let's see if this works. Let's just see if a relax deformer works. Or deformation, and let's just hit it. No, that really messed it up. Okay, so that's why I saved a copy of it. So this method of doing what I did not work. So this needs to go. And I will just stick with what I had and just not deal with, I wonder if I just add a few let's try this. I'm going to try this one more time. And this is the other thing that's kind of good about these streams is that they're not scripted. So I'm going to freeze the subdivision levels. And let's see if I just do, because these are kind of the big culprits right here. The rest of it is not that bad. Let's see if I just do this, if that'll take. Maybe one more here. All right, let's see if this will work. Actually, that did work a little bit better. It still got a little bit of funk around these edges over here, but I'm just worried that that's going to be the case. But I've got a way around that too, and the way I'm going to fix that is I'm just going to duplicate this thing. So I've got a copy that's this way, and then go back to my initial one and go back to the way it was before I made those changes. Okay, so here I just have a detailed version, and I'm just going to project this onto this new one after I clean it up. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this all the way down to subdivision level 1, and I don't know why this thing is kind of all twisted up over here, but it's easy enough of a fix. Here we go. All right, that's fixed, and everything else is good. And I'm just gonna, that's weird. And I'm gonna delete all the higher subdivision levels. And then I'm just gonna re-subdivide it. So how many subdivision levels does this one have? It had 6. So I just need to take this one and divide it. Up to 6 times, and then just want to have these two showing. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to project the details of this, all the cool details I have on here, onto what's there. So I'm just going to use the projection brush, so BP project, where are you? Or Z project, that's right. There it is. Right, so now I'm just getting all those really cool details that I did onto this newly subdivided mesh, and hopefully that's getting all of those details for me. And this is kind of the area that I'm concerned about. The rest of it I can easily redo. But I just want these cool details that I had. Okay, so notice here it's getting really jumbled up. With projection, it's kind of tricky. You just want to kind of be looking at the angle you're projecting. All right, let's see what that got us. I think that gets me pretty much what I want. I got a little bit of funk over here, easily fixed. Okay, I think that's good enough. Clean up these edges, and that's what I want. So let's get rid of that old one. And now I've got better topology on the one that I want. So I'm just gonna go ahead. How many of these? I've got 3 of them. Which one of these is the right one? Okay, so this one is definitely not the good one. So this one's gone. this one is the good one, so we're keeping that one, and then this one is the old one, and I'm just going to keep that for all right, here we go. And then let's bring everything back. Right, I don't need the body and the cloak. Again, those are for if I need to, if somebody likes this and wants me to make full body, that's what I had them for, but it's just going to be a bust for now. Okay, so I've got this. Right here, and this is kind of the piece I need to work on. Right, I'm going to solo it and get to sculpting. I think this is kind of one of the problems that a lot of people in production, especially CG supervisors, and I've been noticing a trend lately that more and more CG supervisors are people that haven't been on the kind of the floor doing work. They're just people that kind of come from a college degree doing this, and they don't really have any experience in certain things, so they don't understand that, like, if you say something's going to take a certain amount of time and sometimes it takes longer, it's not because you're not working efficiently. It's because there are things like that happen that you need to do workarounds for, and those take time. But yeah, a lot of CG supervisors that I've worked with lately have no clue what's going on. But that's kind of work. Every kind of work has things like that where, you know, sometimes people get to positions of power without meriting that power. It's because of people they know or degrees they have or things they've worked on in the past, or whatever. But every once in a while you work with a really great supervisor, and usually I really like to keep in touch with those guys and continue to work with them. And then the ones that I kind of have challenges with, I try to avoid in projects coming up. The stories I can tell. All right. Oliver Trudell is asking, in what stage am I in this character? I would say I'm about maybe 70% done. 70, yeah, I could even go as far as 75% done on it. Yeah, I'm almost done. So basically, I'm just going to fix up these bottom parts, and then put this in builders also. And then once the sculpting and painting is done, then it's just about finding some materials, tweaking that. We'll probably do that next time, and then do a render, and then I think next time or the time after that we'll be done with this character. And then we'll go back to what I was working on before and do a redshift render of that. Right, so now I'm just basically getting the planes established on this thing. And this part is really important because you kind of want the kind of the cage or the low res kind of version to support the high res stuff you're going to be adding to it. So here I'm just going after this one little point right here. Try to move it in. Here we go. Yeah, it's really frustrating for me to go to Maya or Blender because I can't do these kind of big, like for me, for this in Maya, I have to select the vertex and then go to move it and then select another vertex and move it. They've actually made their sculpting tools in Maya now. They've put a little bit of Mudbox in there, which makes life a little bit easier, but it's still kind of a pain to do this kind of stuff in those apps. But if somebody's really, used to it and has used it for a while, they probably have shortcuts and ways to get around it too. So I don't want to knock it. I've seen some Maya users just do wondrous things. I would say I'm a decent Maya user. I wouldn't say I'm a beast. Like some of these folks are. All right, so standard. Let's get these lines established a little bit more. And I probably will put teeth over here, so I'm just kind of laying down the base of that. I'll do that in a minute. This would be a good time to do it. So I'm just kind of trying to establish kind of what the underpinnings of those would be. Another thing I kind of should check is, did I lose the poly paint on this? I did. Well, no, it's still there. Nope, I lost it. That's fine. It's not that hard to redo it. I didn't really like what was there anyway, so. Sometimes when you destroy something, it just gives you a chance to do it over again. Unless you were in love with what you had before, which then it's a bummer. But I still have that old one if I need to bring it back, and I can always projection paint from it. What's going on in the chat? All right, you guys are like tuckered out. I've lost a few people. But that happens sometimes. I'm missing some of my regulars today. Yeah, it's starting to look good. H-polish is really good for establishing planes. I want this to be more of a straight line, so I'm just going to see if I can get it to do it. All right, I've got somebody typing in. Let's see. Let me translate this real quick so I know what you're saying. All right, so it looks like it's a Japanese person. Landlord, Z-modeler, possible alternative Maya build model. I think this thing is lost in translation. Maybe can you ask your question in a different way? I'm sorry. Because when it translated it, it didn't seem to make sense. But if you have you can ask that question in a different way. Maybe I can answer it for you. I think it's in Japanese, so. I still don't, I can't read or write Japanese. I learned a few words when I was in Japan, and I intend to go back learn more, but I was going in March, but I had to change my plans. Can this texture ball be given to and everyone? Which texture ball are you talking about? This thing? Are you talking about this? Make the color a little bit darker here. Yeah, I still am not clear on the texture ball question. If you can elaborate on that. I don't know if there's a little bit of a delay getting to you, but if you can let me know. And I appreciate you typing it in English. All right. Oh, here's my cat. So her latest thing is she attacks my Wacom pen. So right now she's trying to sniff at it. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, there she is. You can see her head. She doesn't understand. She thinks maybe that's another pet, so she gets jealous. It's so funny. I'm still not getting a response about the texture ball, so I don't know. Again, I don't know if you're talking about this Wacom thing that I have popping up. I think that's probably what you're asking about, but I'm not sure. So if you can clarify, I can try and help you. Oh, what just happened? Oh, I choose the paintbrush. I don't want to paint. Let's just fill object with this texture material that nope, material, not RGB. Object. Let's go to RGB again. Let's go back to basic, not basic gray, but basic material. Here we go. Wow. The chat just died for a reason. Are you guys still there? Can somebody just kind of say something just to make sure that the chat is working? I just want to make sure. We didn't have an outage. It's happened before. I must say I'm really enjoying using ZBrush 2023. I'm just really enjoying having Redshift in there. I mean, I still use Keyshot in production, and I probably will for a while, if not forever. But if I go work somewhere and they don't have Keyshot, and most places don't, unfortunately, and I tell them you should get it, and then they look at how much it is and they go, well, you know, can you do it in something else, or, you know, whatever. But chances are a lot of the places that I work in, they usually have the Maxon 1 subscription. So if they have that, they have Redshift, and so I can just use Redshift in ZBrush. So it's kind of interesting. But I still use Keyshot. If people just want me to do an image, like if my freelance job is just they want an image, I can do it in Keyshot. Sometimes there are certain workflows that I have in Keyshot that I've kind of made over the years that just make it a lot more efficient and quick for me at this time. And I'm kind of hoping they continue to support the Keyshot bridge, but I don't know. I don't know what that's going to happen. What's going to happen with that over the years? I've been using Keyshot forever. I think for a render, it has one of the best workflows, if not the best. It's really simple. Cat, stop it. Such a goofball. All right. Okay, I'm spending a lot of time on this one little area, but it's kind of an important one because it needs to kind of follow what's happening up top, and that's working pretty well. All right, let's kind of move on to some of the rest of this. That works. I'm just going to fill this thing because the previous color doesn't really do anything for me, so I'm just going to fill it. And again, I'm sculpting on a very thin layer here that I will eventually use dynamic subdiv to get thickness on. Yeah, if anybody's on chat, can you type something? I don't see anything happening for a while. The number of watchers has gone up, but I don't see. So somebody just type something in chat if you're there. Anything. Hello world, whatever. Somehow I jumped down to this object, which I'm not going to do just yet. Still on this one. There we go. swing a tea here. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with chat. I can't see anything. Let me see if I type something. That worked. Ah, here we go. Thank you, Stepan, I guess. Yeah. You know what the next AI tool should be? Something that can read a person's name out from chat. So all these names that people have, like something that can kind of pronounce it for me. That's a good point. I know. Like sometimes, you know, like I wonder if people are trolling me because, like, you know, you can phonetically spell something and I'm going to try and pronounce it. But of course, I'm probably going to be pronouncing something, you know, obscene. So I always wonder, like, oh my God, am I just, you know, playing into the troll game? But you're right, though. It is fun. There's a whole subculture of streaming fun that happens in addition to everything else. All right, so this is coming along. I'm glad chat is working. I wonder if something happened to it or what the deal is, but maybe you guys are just zoning out. We have been on for a while. And I have been told I have a soothing voice. So I need to do some of the tricks that Paul does to wake people up. Maybe get an air horn app or something like that. All right. Liking how this bottom part is going. Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, I don't see it as torment. I actually enjoy doing it. It's actually part of the fun for me, doing these details. Are you kidding? The hard part is not doing them. The hard part is doing enough of them to just be okay, and then letting go. Because you can spend forever doing this kind of stuff. I think that's one of the things that AI does well, is it does details, like weird, funky details, really well. The problem is it doesn't do the details you want. It just does whatever details it thinks of. So a lot of interesting things going on in the AI world, I must mention. I guess Microsoft is getting a lot of flack for what they're doing with Bing and AI. I think Microsoft should just get rid of that Bing name. That's such a stupid name. I remember I actually was working there when that name came up. And I was just like, oh no. I mean, they finally killed Internet Explorer, so maybe one day they'll kill the Bing name too. It's just such a stupid name. Bing. I mean, it's a cool name if you're looking at Bing Crosby or something like that, but it just seems like, you know, hashtag olds kind of Yeah, that was, I was there like towards the end of when I was working there was when all these fun things were happening, like the name Zune came out and Bing and all that stuff. Like, I don't know why they can't come up with smarter names. It's not that hard. Okay. Yes. Hey, Strawberry King, how's it going? Have you been on the whole time, or did you just come on? Vinsky, this wheel thing that you're talking about. So this is not part of ZBrush. This is part of Wacom, the Wacom tablet. So the way it works is, I'll show you. I do this every time, and I'm happy to do it. Love Wacom and love their kind of stuff that they do. So basically, if you come up with the Wacom tablet properties, if you have a Wacom tablet or a Cintiq or something like that, you just basically come to the properties. And what you do is you create one of these menus. So you go to the functions, and then you go to on-screen shortcuts, and then these are the ones that are there. I just made one called ZBrush. Here it is, and it's a radial one. So you just choose what kind of menu you want to do. And then notice here it shows you all the different quadrants. And I've just assigned a keystroke to each one of them and then put in a name, right? So mask pen, move, etc. And the keystroke for this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I just basically created some hotkeys and mapped the hotkeys to these. And that's all it is. It's really simple, but it's super, super useful. So I've got like the brushes that I use most of the time are on here. And then I've got another bunch of brushes that I use that are on this hotkey that I use, this kind of custom menu that I made. And then all of my brushes are in here. So I've got that. And of course, there's the B for all of the brushes, and these are like everything. And then last but not least, of course, there's the brushes that I have in not Lightbox, but Spotlight. Is this Spotlight? What is it? I think, forget the name of it. Lightbox, yeah. So all the Lightbox brushes. So then there's a ton of brushes that I have over here. I have way too many brushes, but again, the ones that I use the most are these ones right here. All right, Strawberry King. You can watch the beginning of this on YouTube if you want to. It'll be there right after I'm done. Right. How are we doing on time? Yikes, 10 more minutes. Okay, I might go a little bit extra today just because, I'm just kind of going at this. This is working well, and then I'm probably going to do the opposite of this, going outwards over here, just to create I could probably do this with an alpha, but I don't know why I'm just in sculpt mode right now. Just going to do it while sculpting. Yeah, hard surface is, it's two things. It's like knowing how to do it in ZBrush and also, knowing what kind of shapes to create. I think it's my thing. That's what I'm known for. I'm known for hard surface. Although, I'm pretty good with organic too. but given the choice, I would definitely prefer to do hard surface. All right, this is coming along nicely. I think it's done. Next thing I want to do is drop a coat of paint on it and give it some thickness, and then move on to the piece underneath it. And then I probably will do the cloth part, this kind of collar off camera for next time, and I'll probably do the helmet part off camera as well. I mean, the helmet is pretty much done. I just need to drop some sculpting lines on it. Pretty much exactly the same thing I'm doing here. And then I also want to do a little bit of work on this inside part, this one right here. Just whatever is showing needs a little bit more detail, so I'm going to do that as well. I might do that on camera, I don't know. But I want to wrap this up maybe next time, or at worst the time after that, and move on to move back to the mech we were working on before, finish that, and then start something new. It's kind of interesting because I like what I'm doing here a lot more than what the AI generated. So the AI was a good place to start. Gave me some really good ideas, but the AI is still not fully directable, so to speak. I'm just going to go on this from the other side. And this is something people forget, is that you can go at things from both sides. So here I just want to make this flat, so I'm just going to do it from the other side, which was a lot easier than doing it from the front. Good old damn standard brush. I remember the first time I saw the Damien standard brush, and I was like, I gotta have this. This thing is a miracle, and it is. Thank you, Damien, for creating this brush. Way back in the ZBrush, I don't even remember, like first versions, early versions of ZBrush. All right. Well, folks, if you have last-minute questions, now is a good time to ask. And then I'll be on again in a couple of Fridays, not next week, but the week after. Hopefully to finish this thing off, do a nice render or two, and call this kind of AI-based thing done. So now I basically know that I can take something that was generated in AI and actually make it in ZBrush. All right, so I'm kind of talked out. I'm going to maybe put some music on while I finish, do some more work on this. Here we go. My pleasure, Adam. I'll be on for a little bit longer, but if you gotta go, you can watch the rest on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. It's always fun to have people on. Oi! All right, let's wait for this autosave to happen. That's a cool tune. was nice. I'll have to look up and see what that was. That was a pretty neat tune. This is usually the way I work, is I usually have music on. Marcelo, are you in South Africa then? Looking for a delivery of some sort. What kind of delivery are you looking for? You know, I've always wanted to go to South Africa. I've never been. Maybe one of these days I will. I have a lot of good friends from there. Oh. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just masking this part. I'm going to turn the music off for a minute. Wow, those were a couple of cool tunes. Luckily, we got. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just like these top teeth. What I'm going to do is extract these out, and then we'll call it a night. So here, all I did was just mask them, and what I'm going to do here is just kind of go to the masking menu, and where are you? Here you are. And let's just go ahead, blur the mask a little bit, and then sharpen it, blur and sharpen. And what that does is just kind of create some interesting edge shapes. Sharpen it some more. I think that's good. And then I'm just going to use extract to get that out. So I'm going to use this plugin that I got, or called Extract Pro, which is kind of a really inexpensive thing I got on ArtStation. And that basically just created these shapes for me. These are pretty detailed. I don't need them to be that detailed, so I'm just going to zero mesh them a couple of times. Zero mesh. That's getting there. Let's go lower subdivisions. That's good right about there. All right, and then I'm just going to group loop them just to get some loops on the outside. Oops, don't want to do that. Whoa, all over the place. One more time. Okay, group loops. Let's go for maybe one loop, no polishing, maybe one level of polishing. All right, so there we go. There's our piece. I'm going to zero mesh this one more time, keep the groups, and yeah, I think that works. There's a weird kind of lip up top here that I got to fix. Is that it? Yep. Fix this lip over here too. All right, so I've got that tooth. And then what I'm going to do here is just add some dynamic thickness to it. And no smooths, but just, oh, well, that's way too much. Maybe about there. That's good. Let's add a segment in there. Let's add just one. All right, so there it is. And solo, let's just see what that looks like. That looks cool. And let's kind of create some interest from these by extending them out further. All right, so this is just like these top ones. This is just going to be kind of, you know, just to add a little bit of relief in a separate piece. And again, I'm working in pretty low res here. And let's go to H polish. And let's add a subdivision level here and establish some planes. That's exactly what I needed, and that's done. So yeah, I think I'm kind of happy with where this is at. I'll probably be working on this a little bit off camera as well, but I think I'm pretty much finished with the stream. I want to thank all of you that stuck around and also came and watched it. If you're watching this after the fact, remember you can ask questions in the comments and we'll try to answer them for you. You can always get a hold of me through my website. Let me see if I can find that page. There we go. Nope, that's not it. Where did you go? Oh, here we go. Here it is. So yeah, if you guys need to get a hold of me, you can always just go to my Instagram and click on my link tree, and that basically gives you my portfolio, my Gumroad, Instagram, ArtStation, and all the good stuff. And through my website you can get a hold of me as well. Just I think, do I have my about page? I don't, but you can always message me on Instagram or whatever. I've got a message waiting here already. But yeah, you can definitely get a hold of me that way. I'm on Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. and we will see you in a couple of weeks. So thanks for watching, and happy ZBrush.